A very warm welcome. This is the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. My name is Justin Bemuye and my sign language interpreter is Precious Uzemina. Let's look at the headlines. President Tinubu's administration explores a possibility of generating 7 billion naira through cotton, textile and garments revitalization program. Vice President Kashim Shettima lauds NTA Nigeria for donation of over 1 billion naira to federal government. Plus, ECOWAS defense chiefs make concerted efforts to woo Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger back to fold. The incoming head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Esther Wilson-Jack, is expressing readiness to implement the vision of President Bola Tinubu to transform the nation's federal civil service for maximum efficiency. State House correspondent Musbah Wahab reports that Mrs. Wilson-Jack, led by the outgoing head of civil service, Mrs. Folashade Yemi-Esan, was on an introductory visit to the president at the State House. After the meeting behind closed doors, Mrs. Yemi-Esan said the visit was necessary to further prepare the incoming #1 civil servant for the task ahead.
We had a good time chatting with Mr. President, sharing his vision for the country and especially for the civil service with the incoming head of service. And that should prepare her, that should make her hit the ground running so that she can achieve all that Mr. President had discussed with us.
I'm sure you must have been working with her in the civil service for some time now. How capable would you say she is for this very, very important task?
She is very, very capable. She's very intelligent, she's hardworking, and she's professional, and she has a lot of empathy. So I'm sure she can carry that responsibility. I have no doubts at all in my mind that she would do the work very well.
I'm very, very grateful to Mr. President for the confidence and trust that he has reposed in me in appointing me as the head of the civil service of the Federation. I see it as a divine assignment, and I have had the opportunity to assure Mr. President that by the grace of God, I will not disappoint him.
The incoming head of civil service, DD Esther Wilson-Jack, is due for swearing in the coming days. Now, the civil service has changed for the better, and civil servants are now more confident while working with dignity. Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi-Esan, said this at a meeting with joint unions in the office to celebrate her as she leaves. Haman Jabani reports.
As the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi-Esan, plans for her retirement this month, joint unions in the office took time to celebrate her service to the nation in the last 5 years. They say the outgoing head of service has changed the face of Nigeria's civil service and made it effective and efficient in service delivery as well as goal-oriented. Honoring her won't be out of place. The chairman of the joint union, who went memory lane, described the reforms the civil service initiated and implemented by Folashade Yemi-Esan as ones that are important to the welfare and enhancement of skills of civil servants.
We want to commend her for looking at it, the FC 2021 to 2025, as a Bible of the service, and she followed it diligently. And you attest that it has given the service direction, purpose, and dignity. It is not only for us to look at the policy she has implemented, we are also looking at the welfare aspect of it.
Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi-Esan, commended the unions for their support over the years and urged them to do more for the incoming head of service while standing on the principles of accountability, loyalty and efficiency.
I thank God that the dignity with which civil servants work is much better than before. Character character is being built now among civil servants. We need to be able to lift our heads high up and be proud that we're civil servants.
And I think it speaks volumes of the relationship, of the partnership, of the collaboration that the head of civil service of the Federation has brought to bear, not only in this office, but all through the service.
The head of the civil service used the opportunity to present 2 coaster buses to the joint union and cars to 6 directors. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has lauded the donation of 1 billion naira to the federal government's food support program and 4,600 units of digital devices for distribution to schools by MTN Nigeria. Vice President stated these when he received the chairman of MTN Nigeria, Ernest Ndukwe, on a courtesy visit at the presidential villa. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that Vice President Shettima said the gesture by the telecommunications outfit towards the government's effort in addressing hardship in the country is worthy of emulation and indicative of its commitment to the development of the Nigerian economy. The donation by the company, Shettima promised, will be judiciously managed by the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and the Office of the National Security Advisor. On the distribution of 4,600 digital devices, each pre-installed with the U-Lesson application, the Vice President said the MTN team will liaise with his office to work on the beneficiary criteria and facilitate the distribution of the devices to secondary schools in the 6 geopolitical zones. The chairman of MTN Nigeria commended the federal government for its efforts to revive the economic fortunes of the country through various initiatives rolled out across ministries, departments and agencies of government. On the 1 billion naira donation, the MTN Nigeria chairman Ndukwe said it aims at supporting the most vulnerable, marginalized and underserved communities, ensuring no one is left behind through increased collaboration and partnership with the federal government of Nigeria. Now, youth empowerment is at the center of President Tinubu's administration. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated these when he received the leadership of the APC Youth Wing, led by the party's national youth leader, Dayo Israel, on a courtesy visit at the presidential villa. Vice President Shettima said, apart from addressing genuine concerns affecting the youths, the administration's focus on young persons is premised on the trust and confidence the president has in them. He expressed confidence in the ability of the present administration to address all of the concerns raised across different quarters and appealed for more time for the government's plans and programs to manifest. He commended the leadership of the APC Youth Wing for their steadfastness, commitment and patience, assuring that all the group's requests would be addressed in due course. The national youth leader of the APC, Dayo Israel, thanked the Vice President for his love and commitment to the affairs of young people in the country. The APC Youth Wing also requested the presence of the Vice President at the forthcoming Progressive Youth Leadership Summit with the theme, Shaping the Future We Want, Restiveness, Inclusion, Development, Action. The federal government is looking at the possibility of generating 7 billion naira through the Cotton, Textile and Garments Revitalization Program. Musa Babali reports that more than 500,000 hectares will be made available for the cultivation of cotton under the initiative.
The federal government is making efforts towards reviving the moribund textile manufacturing industry in Nigeria. Discussion towards achieving the feat is underway between key players in the industry and government representatives. During the discussion, it was discovered that raw materials, especially cotton, are critical in the revival initiative. The target is to put 500,000 hectares under cultivation.
If we do that, we are going to create 1.4 million jobs. We are going to have FS revenue of between $7.2 billion to $8.2 billion.
And this is the reason for this engagement with the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security.
Why did our farmers moved away from cotton production to other staples or other crops? There must be a reason, and I think we need to look into those areas and see why were those reasons.
The International Cotton Advisory Committee is set to assist with good agronomic practices in the cultivation of cotton.
To renew the hope of cotton farmers in Nigeria will be a very, very big and welcome relief. And we all know the entire value chain creates a very large number of jobs.
More than 1.4 million jobs are expected to be created from cotton cultivation, ginning, textile manufacturing and garment production. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
The federal government is collaborating with the African Academy of Sciences, AAS, to ensure seamless visa application for participants of its biannual General Assembly and Scientific Conference. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji Ojo disclosed these when the General Secretary of AAS, Professor Friday Okonofua, led a delegation to his office during the week. The minister stated that hosting the AAS biannual General Assembly and Scientific Conference in Nigeria is a welcome development, as every innovation is a product of research and science. He urged the AAS not to limit the number of participants to 1,000 to pave the way for youths to participate. Tunji Ojo assured the delegation that the President Bola Tinubu-led administration has made conscious efforts to ensure the country harnesses opportunities in the science and technology value chain, and briefed the guests on innovations carried out in the Nigeria Immigration Service, particularly imminent opening of the e-gates at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Leader of the delegation and General Secretary of the AAS, Professor Friday Okonofua, earlier hinted to the minister that the conference scheduled for December in Abuja will be held in Nigeria for the first time, and that about 1,000 scientists from across Africa, including African presidents, heads of state and other dignitaries like the President of the African Development Bank Group and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, will be in attendance. Now, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, at an interactive session with owners of some private broadcast media outfits in Nigeria, believes that now is the right time for media practitioners to reassess their activities of promoting professionalism and national cohesion. And this was when the minister led the presidential media team to an advocacy visit held in Lagos. Saliu Konera tells us more.
To these elated media owners, the minister and his team are indeed August visitors in the month of August. This is in furtherance of the presidential media team's advocacy visit to critical stakeholders, particularly those in the media industry. Lessons from the recent nationwide End Bad Governance protest and the role of the private broadcast media dominated discussions.
We also know that even as you do this task of holding government to account, which is your constitutional role that you are playing, we have to have in Nigeria before we can have a functional Nigerian media. It is incumbent on us to ensure that media is in the forefront of promoting unity, conserving our collective existence, and ensuring that all of us stay in peace.
At Arise, we believe and agree that subsidy must be removed, and agree that there should be a market-driven exchange rate, but not at the same time.
We will make sure that job is done with a lot of responsibility. We will make sure that we're also partners in progress with government. I've often told people who care to ask me that I don't belong to a political party.
Where I feel that a lot of focus should be on, and I feel this is also going to benefit media houses like us, is a regulation of some sort on all these other forms of media. These are the areas these people go to cause to wreak this havoc. That's where the insightful things come out from. They pick a very small video or very little information they have found and twist and twist and twist it.
The government image maker reaffirmed policies on local government autonomy and in critical sectors such as agriculture, health, security, and education, which are efforts towards building a strong foundation for socio-economic prosperity, particularly for the youth.
If people are asking, what has the federal government done with their money? Which is a very legitimate question to ask. People should also ask why the state governments are also doing theirs. Because all of us together make what we call the Nigerian Federation.
The team crisscrossed the head offices of Arise Television, Channels Television, and Television Continental TVC in Lagos. Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
You're watching the news on Enter International. We now take a short break. The news continues in a moment. Please don't go away. You're welcome back. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, says ECOWAS is making concerted efforts to return Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to the sub-regional bloc. General Christopher Musa stated these when he led a delegation of ECOWAS defense chiefs to the National Counterterrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor, where he expressed concern over the withdrawal of the 3 former members, noting that it could lead to increased instability in West Africa.
We have 3 countries that have decided to step aside. We're making all efforts to ensure that they come back to the fold, because we know even they on their own cannot withstand this. And we know the relevance that if they fall, it will also drag us down. And that's why it's important for us as West Africans to continue to work together.
We hope to partner with our brothers in the West African sub-region and the Sahel in the process of talking on how we're going to come together to address this threat that is really stopping our people from reaping the dividends of democracy. The only way we can address this threat is to share our experiences to address them.
The visit also seeks to strengthen partnerships among the ECOWAS member states in the current drive to end insecurity and tackle emerging threats. Elsewhere, a military court in the Democratic Republic of Congo, after a high-profile trial, has handed down death sentences to all 26 defendants accused of belonging to the M23 rebel group. 21 defendants who are on the run were found guilty of war crimes, participation in an insurrection and treason by the court in the capital, Kinshasa. Comfort Fashion tells us more.
The Tutsi-led M23, backed by Rwanda, has seized huge swathe of territory in eastern DRC since late 2021. It is among dozens of rebel groups active in the DRC's restive east, the legacy of a regional conflict that erupted in the 1990s after the fall of longtime dictator Mobutu Sese Seko. In March, the Congolese government defied criticism from human rights organizations and lifted a moratorium on the death penalty that had been in place since 2003, which was targeted at military personnel accused of treason.
La question de savoir si le prévenu est coupable des infractions de crimes de guerre, de participation à un mouvement d'insurrection.
The prosecutor in the trial, which began on July 24, has called for death sentences against 25 of the defendants and a 20-year jail term against the other defendants. Defense lawyers for the 5 accused were present in courts, pleaded for their acquittal. The most prominent of the defendants was Kone Nanga, among those on the run, and a former president of the Congolese Electoral Commission. In December, he announced in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, the creation of the Alliance Fleuve Congo, AFC, a political military movement of rebel groups, including the M23. The court ordered his property be confiscated for the benefit of the Congolese state. Other major M23 figures on trial include its president, Bertrand Bisimwa, military chief Sultani Makenga, and spokesman Willie Ngoma and Lawrence Kanyuka. Others on the list of defendants include members of the People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy, PPRD, who joined the AFC. The PPRD is a party of former President Joseph Kabila, who was in power until 2019. And President of the court said the 5 accused who were present for the trial have 5 days to appeal against the decision. Comfort, Fashim, NTA News.
Now, there is a certain tribe known around the globe as the indigenous people. They are the custodians of the diverse cultural and biological landscape man has ever known yet. They face marginalization, extreme poverty, and human rights violations. And so, on a day set aside globally to celebrate this group of people, efforts is on to protection and preservation of their rights and culture as a global heritage. And Charles Afar reports.
Indigenous people are culturally distinct societies and communities making up approximately 6% of the global population. They account for about 19% of the extreme poor, that is, according to a World Bank Group reports. They share collective ancestral ties to the lands and natural resources where they live, with land and natural resources on which they depend linked to their identities. Land rights, environmental conservation, and social justice rank among the disturbing challenges this group of people face. That is why UNESCO and United Nations General Assembly adopted 9th of August each year as International Day of the World's Indigenous People, also known as World Tribal Day, to celebrate and address issues such as environmental protection, recognize and promote their rights, cultures, contributions, and encourage global understanding and respect for the diverse cultures of the indigenous people. This year's focus of the International Day is on protection of the rights of indigenous people in voluntary isolation and initial contact. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Oshogbo, the Osun state capital, played host to thousands of Osun goddess devotees and tourists from across the world who gathered for the grand finale of the popular Osun Oshogbo festival. Correspondent Muiwa Omoiwumi covered the event and his report is hereby presented.
The entry of the votary maiden, a symbol of purity and hope, into Osun Oshogbo Grove signaled the climax of this year's Osun Oshogbo festival. Osun State Governor Senator Adebola Adeleke, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Honorable Teslim Igbalaye, reiterated the commitment of government to supporting cultural initiatives that promote the state on a global stage. Dignitaries see the festival as a period to honor the Osun goddess of fertility and also for believers to ask for her blessings.
Osun is a mother of all. She contributes to the foundation of the city of Oshogbo. She prevents invaders of Fulani war.
What we do with Osun Oshogbo is a settlement of covenant. It's an agreement between the leaders of Oshogbo, who are Obas, and the city.
This festival is very, very beautiful, amazing festival.
My DNA, I looked back to my ancestors praying and it led me here. And there are a lot of people in the States that celebrate Osun, that are starting to become aware of the power of the tradition.
The festival, which spanned 2 weeks, had activities of rituals, processions, and cultural performances.
President Bola Tinubu extends his condolences to the family of Mr. Issa Hayatu, former president of the Confederation of African Football (CAF), who passed away at the age of 77 on Thursday. Mr. Hayatu was also one-time acting president of FIFA, the World Football Governing Body. A release by a special advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Jurin Gelale, says President Tinubu commiserates with the Cameroonian Football Federation, the people of Cameroon and the African football community. Now let's have a quick check on the weather prospect. Weather forecast there ends the news on Enter International. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My name is Justin Bemuye, and Precious Ozemena has been the sign language interpreter. We say bye for now.